Right. We are hooked up.
Oh, good work.
Wait a second.
This is why Brocco is the tech guy. Give it a few minutes, let folks get in and get going. Meanwhile, if you guys got anything you're watching, put it in the chat and we can take a look. Yeah. Just give it a couple minutes for people to get rocking. How's everybody's morning? I've got the big cup of coffee today. Can't see it because of the white screen, but CYBR. Yeah, man, this has been holding up. Probably would like to see a little bit of consolidation up here at the third tap. But these MAs get tight, but man, if you can consolidate right here for a little bit, or this 90 may catch up, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Tough starting something all the way up here on this. You know, Bronco, that lunar just up 20% in the pre-market.
Yeah, so it's getting some some Wall Street bets attention this morning.
Yeah, I made a little list of some of these like space stocks. There's a few of them that started kind of, joining the party a little bit yesterday. The ASTS and Rocket Lab party.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, a little bit of a theme going there.
All right, we got some people coming in. Perfect. What do you say we get to work here, huh? So let's take a look at the market here on the daily time frame. I'll let Brocco kind of cover these, but really briefly, just want to talk about one thing. I noticed on some of the S&P options contract that the implied move from now until not just this Friday, 8/23, but all the way till next Friday, 8/30, was actually implying a rather light move compared to what we've been seeing right over the past like really 4 weeks. The options contracts are implying about a 1.2% move by this Friday and a little bit more than 1.5% by next Friday. So that's really interesting. That means that's the cost of a straddle, right? An at the money straddle, which is buying right like 560 calls and puts. It's only implying a 1.5% move by that, and we've got some things coming up in the meantime. So I don't know. I thought that was rather interesting, especially given what we've been doing, how cheap that is. But we've seen the VIX fall off. Just it's under 15 now, so maybe that's not as surprising. Yeah, Brocco, do you want to go over some of these indexes, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll take over.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think if we close green today, what would that be, 9 days in a row? I think that'd be only last time that happened was like 2004. So we're witnessing some history right now. But yeah, so the ATR and the indexes has dropped off a little bit. We still getting a couple nice moves, but I was trading the indexes a lot back in late July or middle of July and stuff. When the whole market was kind of just moving together throughout that correction. But when you get the indexes back above the moving averages and the VIX back in the 14s, volatility on those indexes kind of drops off a little bit. And the good thing is when you get back in uptrend territory, you get a lot more speculation in individual names. And I'm sure you guys have noticed that I'd say the last maybe 3, 4, 5 days specifically. I mean, you've had some one or two big small cap runners each day. You can kind of just like go through the list there if you guys remember. I mean, there's been that apps that you played, you got long that apps, what, end of the week last week?
Yeah.
Redfin, Zillow, your UPST, GovX, Siga, Rocket Lab, Fubo, Lunar, ASTS, right? And, when you get the market back in an uptrend, you get, speculation to kind of enter back in the market. So, I know it's kind of hard with the indexes, extended, but there's definitely is still opportunities out there every day. If you're willing to kind of expand your watch list a little bit. But yeah, so I don't have much to say on the indexes today. Obviously we're coming back into this like this gap here from when the market kind of began that correction. So this is going to be a little bit of a spot, but if you guys notice, none of these resistance spots above have really mattered like the last 10 days. We've kind of just cleaned right through them. None of these bearish gaps or moving averages or pivots really meant much. Just a straight squeeze right now. A lot of these charts look really good, but you do have like that really aggressive V-shaped move across the board. So, there's certainly setups to take out there. I think you just, don't get too aggressive. Don't go too heavy on those, with this V-shaped recovery. I mean, the market is going to pull back at some point. It's inevitable, right? Um, so save that ammo for when the market, if that gives us that pullback setup again and some of these get tight again, you can really, start getting aggressive on those. So I got a little bit of a broad watch list this morning. Just, I noted some stuff that's just been moving around because, some of these pre-market movers have been pretty hot intraday. Yeah, I mentioned this Lunar in the chat yesterday. Kind of had this theme going on, whatever. We're in that Rocket Lab right now, which is still looking pretty good. But I mentioned this Lunar yesterday, was starting to get some traction on Twitter. I mentioned the 5 calls in the chat for January, but this thing's gapping up 15% this morning. Took out this trend line right through the 200 days. So, this is probably going to be a hot one to watch today, I'd imagine. This Lunar, if this gets through $5, you probably got some room higher up to like the $6 area from these peaks back in April and May. So this is a pre-market mover to keep an eye on. Same with this NNE. They had a little PR, I think after close yesterday, and this started moving in the after hours, but this was, just a month and a half ago, a pretty big squeezer. I mean, this went, $5 to $40 in like what, 10 days, I think. So this could definitely be one to keep an eye on. It's pretty much given that whole move back and starting to pop off the lows a little bit. So crypto, you got some crypto stocks gapping up a little bit. We talked about these on Sunday scans and yesterday as well. I have no positions right now. I know you're looking at that cores, which looks pretty good. So this IBIT's kind of, we've been talking about the potential of like a wedge pop on the daily here, where I'm just using IBIT as my kind of ETF for Bitcoin right now, but this popped into these moving averages and kind of gave that rollover look and hasn't really participated with the broader market the last 10 days or so. But that's is this relative weakness or does this have room to catch up is going to be the question. But if this can hold today, you definitely have a wedge pop in play. Moving averages are starting to curl higher. You can see how that volatility kind of contracted below these moving averages, and now we're trying to expand this range a little bit. I'd say this 35 spot is going to be the spot to take. I think that's like maybe 62K on Bitcoin. And this MSTR's got like a little potential wedge pop. I think 140 is going to be the big spot to take out, which is around those pre-market highs. So, this, I've been mentioning this the last few days where it's kind of just every breakdown attempt's gotten bought up and it's just failing to go lower. So, this could definitely be on watch. We talked about this MSTX yesterday too. The new leverage long ETF on MSTR 1.75x leverage. So, if you don't want to play options on that because MSTR can be a little bit tricky, you could play some shares on that. It looks pretty liquid, and I think you can get into this pretty easily. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. If this can take out this 8.7 high right here, you might be able to take this back up to 150, back above that 50 days. So I'm going to keep an eye on this MSTR in the morning, just see how it acts. Also, we were talking, I saw some of you guys talking about this LI early in the week. This XPEV had earnings gapping up 2%. It's coming off this like 660 down here. You got like a little double bottom look. For those of you guys that are, keep an eye on LI, this might be worth a watch down here. I don't have much of an interest in it, but it was just one of those names on the earnings calendars that's moving around this morning. Same with PanW. So this could be a little bit of an IV flush play. I think its implied move was somewhere near 8%. Don't quote me on that. But this is gapping up 2%. So it's within that, implied move. This thing's been an absolute monster off the lows. Short term, maybe a little bit extended. It did cool off for a couple days, but it's taken out a bit of range here through this 345 area. Um, I'm really just going to watch this like 348, 350 area, which is sort of near those pre-market lows. And if this holds 350, which it is right now, and can get going, I think you could take this back up to like 360, 362, which was around those post-market highs yesterday, I think. But this thing's in that gap now, and it's got some pretty clear room. I mean, you got a good market, you got a really strong name in a sector that's looking really good, and a positive earnings reaction so far. So this is probably going to be on watch at the open for a IV flush trade there. Um, Manrap posted this Rivian last night. It kind of got me a little bit intrigued. This one's been tough though. I've watched it a few times and haven't really had much success with it.
Hey,
But
so, sorry, before you go, throw on the 65 minute. I've been tracking this too because people have been talking in the chat. If you throw the 65 on, I've got the 50 SMA on it, and we've just been kind of rejecting that green line right there, the 50 SMA on the 65 minute.
yeah,
And we're getting really tight right here with all these MAs on the 65 minute. So I'm waiting for this to remount those and just get a cross back right into all those moving averages. And I plan on taking that if we see that setup on the 65 minute. Just like, I mean, think about this as a daily chart, right? You get
yeah,
you kind of a little bit of reversal extension, some bottoming type of action, tight volatility down here. If we can pop through on the 65 minute here, retest these MAs and hold, you got a really you can probably get in this with like 25 cents risk at most, maybe 30 cents. And then whatever happens happens. Lucid also looks pretty decent as well on a similar time frame here.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, obviously the only concern with this is, this is market has staged, a massive V-shaped recovery, and this has pretty much done nothing. So that's obviously going to be a concern. But just trade the chart. You got pretty much a flat bottom with lower highs, so it's getting really tight and probably going to make a move soon. So I wanted to mention this. I found it interesting. Maybe I'll let Manrev kind of just, hopefully he just lets me know when to get in. I could just follow him. So um this ONON, you can kind of ignore this pre-market candle. It's just a print or whatever that didn't really happen. But this is going to open inside previous day's candle. I think this still looks phenomenal. I mean, you pretty much got like almost like two just really tight inside days. I'm really just watching this 43 spot still, which is the high the last like 3 days and that high from earnings. But I still love this flag, and this is probably like one of my favorite swing looks. Especially if this 90 EMA gets a little tighter, the tighter that gets to this breakout spot, the cleaner the setup's going to be. So still watching this ONON to kind of give an entry. The 65 minutes like could be wedging up a little bit. This might need to pull lower. The 20 catches up a little bit too. You can kind of see, this little wedging up action on the 65 minute where it looks like it definitely has potential to just roll pretty quickly if they can't take out this 43 spot. So, going to be patient with this, but just going to kind of wait for a go signal on this. If this goes out of the gate and takes 43, probably going to try it. But, I would love for this to get a little bit tighter. Yeah, so FSLR, I didn't end up buying this yesterday. I think I'm happy I didn't. This one's kind of a tricky trader if you're like watching the lower time frames like the 2 and the 5 minute. It's a little bit jumpy sometimes if it's not doesn't have momentum. But this has still got that EMA crossback look. You got the declining 50-day, which we talked about isn't the best, but I'd say this price action's acting pretty well. Nine's back above the 20. We're still above that gap from this wedge pop area on 813. So I think if you like this setup, you just look for support buys and just buy some time on it. Yeah, I would be careful going a little too short date on this. I think it's easy to get shook out on something like this. So, I wouldn't mind even another pullback to 220, 222 and to hold for this to build out a little bit more, given that this, 50 SMA is coming down pretty quick. And this tried to, kind of trigger over previous day's high yesterday through that 230 spot and ended up failing. So, not an A+ setup, but, it's got that nice base look. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. These Chinas are gapping down this morning. Some of these had some pretty nice earnings moves. Like Baba had a nice, earnings day, and then rolled over a little bit on that day, but followed through the next day. And this JD had made a really nice 3-day move too. Got a little bit short term extended. It's gapping down 3% this morning. I'm not sure. I kind of blindly just want to like buy the dip on this. But if this tightens up down here below this, like this, 29.50 and above like $28, which is that earnings gap, and this 90 EMA catches up, if this gets tight, we could rip some 30 calls on this for, a few months out. This could be a really nice look. So JD is going to be kind of like going to be stocking this thing for the next few days. Don't think it's ready yet. But if this gives a couple days of wiggle, this thing's probably going to be ready. So, as far as large caps, I think this meta could be interesting into the end of the week if it tightens up a little bit more. This thing's had some really nice relative strength since earnings. I mean, since we bottomed, on April 5th on the Qs, this thing's gone vertical. It's up 20%. It's right into this left peak. It's starting to cool off a little bit. It's had some trouble in like the 540s, 530s. So I definitely would like this to tighten up a little bit more, but I'm kind of watching this this earnings opening price here on like 521.48. If it can like consolidate above that spot and hold this 9 EMA and build out a little flag up here, this could be a good little end a week kind of play, or maybe even into next week. Maybe it needs some more time because the market is a little bit extended. But I think we've seen on these large cap techs, some of these like all-time high breakouts have been like pretty explosive. This all-time high breakout back here didn't really see much follow through, but just specifically on that day, I mean, this thing was up 6% that day when it took the all-time highs last time. So if this tightens up below this previous peak and holds this opening price from that earnings day and this 9 EMA, if this builds out here, this could end up being maybe a little sweet trade. So I'll be watching that too. I got this Rocket Lab still. I took some profits on my shorter dated calls. For the 2026 leaps, I think I'm probably going to trim soon. I mean, we got in this thing when nobody really was talking about it back here in June. And now you got a lot of eyes on this thing. And, you're even on Wall Street bets and whatnot. You got a little bit of a theme with some of these, space stocks and stuff. But I'm not going to underestimate this, but, a lot of the chatter kind of makes me want to maybe trim down my position a little bit, and we can look to play it again if it sets up. So I'll watch it closely today and kind of decide what I want to do with that there. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got for today. I don't think we have anything significant on the event calendar today. Intraday, got a couple Fed speakers, but that's about it. So kind of coast is clear. And we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. You want to pull your screen up?
Yeah, I got it up now. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm just looking at the event calendar. There's this New York Fed Treasury purchases. I'm not sure if that's going to be important. And then, yeah, in the afternoon, we got Bostic speaking and Barr. Bostic's not even a voting member, but the market really moves off of his stuff. So we will have to pay attention to that one, or at least just look for the headlines, see what's going on there. Anywho, yeah, Brocco, those ones that you listed, I mean, people could just watch those ones. And
I think VST and CG too could definitely be kept an eye on. Those have been a little bit tricky, but definitely could keep an eye on those.
Yeah, this whole basket I think is pretty reasonable. And by this whole basket, I mean like these data center energy type ones, which is VST, the CEG. There's Powell in here. This one's a little bit thinner, a little bit looser. I know Manrev's got a position in this that he's been adding around when we dip around this 156 spot. But and then there's GEV. GEV actually I think looks the best if maybe one more day to tighten up on this GEV. But I think this one is the easiest to play. You have nothing like VST's got all this chunky action to the left, which I mean on SPY and on a bunch of other stocks that hasn't been an issue. But just the way this acted around the 50-day right here and then kind of lost it, makes me a little bit more hesitant to try this one. I like CEG because it's not as chunky to the left. When you look left a little bit, it looks like it could easily push a little bit higher. But I think GEV will be the favorite in this category. A little inside day would be fantastic on this. But here's a daily chart, right? This is a relatively new IPO. We just made all-time highs after consolidating for about 2.5 months. and we're holding over that all-time high mark on this. So man, if this flag breaks out, you've got, blue skies ahead to where, you can see this pop into the 200s and 210s, relatively quickly. You can't underestimate how far and fast these IPOs can go. I do really like this GEV. I want to go over this Gilead here. This really stood out to me. We got a flat open on this. This is consolidate. I don't know if this goes today, right? You could have had the same thesis on this for, really the past 4, 5, 6 days. But I like this flat open. I like this candle yesterday that popped through the 9 and 20. And you pull up the 65-minute. We've got, I think, a pretty clean area to take this over about 74.50. And another reason why I like this one is these options contracts are so reasonably priced. If you go out to the October 77.5s or the October 80s, the 80s are 60 cents. The 77.5s are $1.15. The at the monies are $2. So you're just able to, really trade this easily on the higher time frames and not have to, pay that much for that extra time. You can even go out to right November 80 calls and you're paying, $1.40, and that lists their next earnings as well. So again, let's, starting with this, daily candle pattern. A high tide inside day would be fantastic on this. If this just stays the way it is, this will probably be like a top watch tomorrow. I think this is a relatively top watch today for the possible red to green little breakout spot over 74.50. I also kind of like this PFE down here. I was looking at this 65-minute, the way it kind of has remounted. The 65-minute MA is starting to flag out here. I'd prefer this happen over like 29 a little bit to see more of this, flagging action on the hour over 29. But I think this one can be in play. I'm viewing this as a possible like beginning of like W double bottom right here, which I think is very reasonable to assume, and especially if the stock starts to prove that. I think I might be a little bit early on that. If we get that flagging action more around here, I'd be a lot more interested in this. Excuse me. This D-Dog entered this yesterday, right on this 65-minute candle, this opening 65-minute candle. This is just a really good example of what I like to see on a chart here. Really orderly, flag on this hourly chart, and then you kind of undercut this range a little bit and quickly reclaim. And once you kind of just break this range like 115.40, these two tight candles, you can just buy it and put the stop right at the low a day. And whatever ends up happening, you already defined your risk. This is about $1.30 risk when we entered this, and so far it's up just under $2. It was up about $3 earlier in the pre-market, but we've kind of faded off just a little bit. Still really like this look. If we start pushing here, I'd like to move my stop up closer to this candle low, about 115.50, right about entry spot. If we get any strength this morning. EA as well. This was a really good look yesterday. Again, very similar type of candle. You get this flagging action on the hourly. You get a little bit of a weak open, dip down, and thrust pretty quickly. A buyer step in, and this turned into quite the move for the October calls. Alex Jones ended up posting some flow on the September calls. And this had a monster close. It ripped like, I guess only $1, but for something like EA, that's quite a bit. A few more on here that I just want to kind of reiterate. Again, Brocco, those ones that you mentioned, phenomenal. I really like ON. This meta is super interesting at that earnings open right here. And then which one do I want to go over? I'm gonna talk about this grinder here. I want to see another candle hold. So we got a little bit of a weak open. You can never tell on this. Only 50 shares I've traded in the pre-market.
I think it's just a liquid, yeah.
Yeah. But kind of drew this out maybe like this little flag right here, however you want to draw it out, it doesn't really matter. But I love the way that this is consolidating right here above all these MAs. You got a really nice candle to hold last Friday, a little bit of follow through yesterday, so maybe 1 or 2 more days of rest on this and it'd be, really easy to trade for a breakout. But this thing has been really strong. They've raised their guidance twice on this, maybe even 3 times. So they're doing really well as a company, and if this flag breaks out, I like this. I trade shares on this. The CORZ ended up posted this over the weekend. Started building just a minor position in shares on this, and we got some consolidation in the afternoon. I'd like this to build out a little bit more on like the hourly chart, give us a little bit cleaner areas to risk off of. But I think around this $10 spot is a good area to start building into with room to buy down here again in the 970s. And if this ends up just kind of taking off, that's fine. But we got 5 days in a row on this, thrusting right through the MAs. So what do we always look for, right? When you get this pop through, is for this to build out here, get nice and tight, so we can get some clean areas to risk off of.
Just need a higher low on that. That's all.
Yeah, we got plenty of room to build out that higher low. Dun, 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 dun. Don't need to go over this. This TXN does look interesting, by the way. But I don't know if it's a priority. Get a few more on here, but nothing we really need to cover in the pre-market.
We got 2 minutes. We can start getting ready. Get our stock boxes filled out.
That's right.
Markets still pretty strong. We're gapping down a little bit. Qs are down about $1. SMH semiconductors down close to 1%. Pretty much got every index down a little bit this morning. But a common theme we've seen the last like 10 days has been a weak open or flat open and a really strong close, which is a good sign of a accumulating market and a strong market. So, it's probably best to, not fight that until we kind of get, maybe something like a strong open, a big gap up, and a weak close near the lows might, shift that a little bit. So, yeah, you see this BAC getting crushed in the pre-market. I don't know what's going on there.
Uh-oh. Warren Buffet is selling some more stock. That has been relatively weak compared to the rest of the banks. Oh yeah, Eli Lilly had some pretty kick-ass news in the pre-market. Man, the data on those drugs is just insane.
All right, we got 1 minute here. You got your screen up. Okay, I'm gonna fix this. Get my volume scanner going. All right, we got 1 minute. I'm gonna close out the live stream here. For anyone who joined from Twitter or X, I should say, or YouTube, thanks for showing up. I mean, are you down to kind of run these each morning?
Yeah, I mean,
Why not?
I'm always down, man.
You love talking stocks.
60 hours a week, man.
Yeah, but we're gonna get to our live trading stream now where we live trade to pretty much throughout the entire day. So yeah, if you guys like this pre-market stream, let us know and we'll keep up with this each day. I mean, I just got it set up today and it was pretty easy. So I think why not? So